like the way that I dance. She like the way that I move. She like the way that I rock. She like the way I...
Yo! Welcome to another Untimely Review. After the last two videos where I just talked about movies 7-year-old me liked, I thought, why not keep it going? So we're talking about the world's first gender-swapped video game adaptation, The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl 3D. I've also recently rediscovered my love for this image, which was really 90% of why I wanted to do this review, but details. Let's just get right into the story. So major spoilers for the first movie role that the green screen body double for the wolf from Twilight had. As all critically acclaimed film juggernauts do, the movie begins with a quote. But this isn't a quote from Sartre or Plato, no. This is from a real scholar, Lavagirl. And we find out that the movie we're about to see is based on the stories and dreams of Racer Max, who has probably the closest name to Speed Racer this reality allows, and is also the director Robert Rodriguez's son. So if you ever feel like your parents actually love you, remember that you didn't get a legit motion picture that you are credited as a writer on and starred in at the age of 8. After the intro, we get introduced to a young Sharkboy as we're given his origin story, and even though we're only 2 minutes in, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a movie happens. Here it is.
Sharkboy was completely alone.
Hey, it's Sharkboy. Don't take a bite out of him, boys. He's a friend.
Friends, not food.
This movie could suck for the next hour and a half, but this one instance was enough to make the whole experience great. Hey, after watching the movie, that's not true anymore. I take that back. We find out how the narrator met Sharkboy, and then a very dark scene involving potential divorce happens, and it's at this point that I feel like this movie is gonna be nothing but tonal whiplash, and you know what? I'm here for it. Lavagirl gets introduced too, but she doesn't have any backstory at all, and then we find out that the narrator decided to tell this story to his class as a part of his What I Did During Summer Vacation project, and is promptly bullied for it. We're then introduced to our narrator's teacher, Mr. Electricidad. He's where eels come from, and winner of Best Bad Teacher Award 2 years running. And we find out that the narrator's name is Max. Worst isekai protagonist I've ever seen, and dude just sucks. Not really much more to say here. We see how Mr. Electricidad handles bullying, and well, let's just say in a way that I wouldn't. And we get a teaser for the Birds of Prey movie, 15 years in the making.
Me?
That's cool. Outside, Max is still getting bullied by this kid, Linus.
Nice.
Lashes out because of his haircut, and everything shitty about kids distilled into one tiny body. But Max stands up for himself, which causes Linus and his boys to chase after him, and he's doing pretty well getting away until this happens. Ah yes, the ever-present testicular tap. This devastating move causes Max to drop his dream journal into the hands of Linus. Then back at home, while Max is trying to sleep next to this huge fire hazard, he hears whispers in his sleep and then wakes up to find these strange tracks leading from his room to the kitchen. Sharkboy and Lavagirl are practicing their superheroing from Batman, obviously.
I'm Batman-ing.
But before they meet up with Max again, his parents come to investigate, and it's just all very awkward between these two. When Max tries to go back to sleep, he's making the vibes very ominous, and we get some vague spoilers about the future. The next day, Max's dad, aka Max's dad, tries to bond with his son, but oops, he's not very good at it. And then while Max's mom, aka Max's mom, walks him to school, she tells him that her and his dad just aren't compatible anymore, because that's exactly what this 4th grader needed before going to school. Also, Max's school is directly across the street, so she just ruined his day for no reason.
Good job.
In class, Max is learning about tornadoes and how they work, but for some reason, all the kids who thought Max was lying and bullied him for it are now also just making up stories about superheroes. And we find out that the one girl in the whole class that actually likes Max is Mr. Electricidad's daughter. So no friends for Max, and then Linus, like the supervillain in training that he is, comes to school with an L on his chest, like the loser he is. Mr. Electricidad makes Linus give Max his journal back, but he's taken some creative liberties with it. But before class can continue, Sharkboy and Lavagirl show up in one of the most destructive ways possible. So, Sharkboy doesn't actually talk to fish. And Lavagirl, a hothead, but somehow the most responsible character in this whole movie. Now, while this is all very traumatic, Max thinks that he's dreaming, and then this happens.
And when I open my eyes, you'll be gone. We're still here, Max.
Good to see that these two have such a great sense of humor. Max goes with them to the moist and mystical place called Planet Drool, and we get an in-movie reminder that this movie is still completely actually titled The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl 3D. But it's 2021 now, and 3D has pretty much died, so none of that matters anymore. And then this happens.
So, how do you fly it?
You don't know?
Duh. That's sort of been the whole problem. You press go.
That was easy.
To be very honest, I don't want to just keep playing clips and saying, huh? But like, huh? Anyway, we get some nice early 2000s Saturday morning cartoon style graphics, and we find out that Planet Drool, the place where all Max's hopes and dreams go, is dying because of the darkness. No, not that one, or that one, or that one, or that one. It's actually somehow even more generic. It's just some spooky clouds. After that, Sharkboy and Lavagirl save some kids, even though they could have done that before they left to find Max, but whatever. The squad then goes to find a dude named Mr. Electric, because adding the dad to his name was just too much. And since this is technically a brand new character, Mr. Electric. Everything I said about Mr. Electric's Haddad, but more evil, purple, and electric-y. But we find out that Mr. Electric is actually taking orders from some mysterious, unnamed, shadowy figure. Sharkboy and Lavagirl fight some power plugs, try to get Max to do just anything, but because he can't, they all get sent to the dream graveyard. Well, it's only been 30 minutes in, and the movie is really starting to drag, so we're just gonna fast forward through all the expositional world building. It's all not very good anyway. SB and LG try to get Max to dream, it doesn't work, but they get a push in the right direction by our third character being played by George Lopez. They end up in the land of milk and cookies. It's not a joke, it's literally what they called it. And they get chased by cookie-themed versions of Max's parents. And it's at this point that I think, you know what? Maybe a nap is really what I need to get engaged with this movie. Let's just try it.
I think it's time for your boy to take his ass to sleep.
Every day I imagine a future where I can
So much pain!
You were already on Pornhub earlier. You do not need to go there again tonight.
Well, after all those wonderful dreams, I think I'm in a better headspace to really understand what I'm seeing here. No, I don't think that helped too much actually, now that I'm looking at this. But just when I thought that this movie was a lost cause, we get this wonderfully aggressive lullaby.
Go to sleep, bitch! Die, motherfucker, die! Time's up, bitch! Turn it up! Moving on!
Lavagirl has to toast Max's tush because he's having a nightmare, and then Mr. Electric shows up to bring a shock to their system. Then there's what could generously be considered action, and Max dreams up a banana split boat to dip out since they're getting beat up by some plug hounds. Jesus Christ. But before they get away, Mr. Electric starts crying. For some reason. It's actually very strange. So now they're floating on the stream of consciousness, and Max decides to draw out a heart because I guess they haven't taught him that in school yet. So now the mission is to get the Ice Princess to give them the crystal heart so that they can freeze time. But of course, this side quest is gonna have a dumb roadblock that involves Lavagirl having to sleepwalk across an ice bridge. The more that I write about this movie, the more it feels like I'm just totally making shit up as I go along, but considering this is how I used to write stories when I was 8 too, it kinda makes sense. Max, because he's just so in tune with everything, says that this was all a trap, even though there's no way anyone even knew where they were going, so that doesn't make sense, but because Max is the dream wizard of this land, he realizes that someone else's dreams are messing with everything. Wonder who that could be. Hey look, it's the kid even all the 8-year-olds knew it would be, bitch-ass Linus, who changed his name to be Minus because he is actually actively trying to be the worst character in this movie. He's doing some supervillain posturing, but then he makes a surprisingly poignant point about fear being inherently inescapable because it resides in the mind. And I didn't know I was going to be attending a philosophical lecture while watching a movie where this happens.
Just step back!
But look at where we are now. Linus, I'm only going to be using his Christian name from here on out, sends the squad to jail, but because of some singing scrubbing bubbles pissing Sharkboy off, they escape, and when they go to try and steal Max's dream journal back, we see that Linus sleeps with his eyes open, because he's a fucking freak. But they can't celebrate too much, because in their excitement, Lavagirl burns the dream journal.
God, that sucks.
Now, You think that she know not to touch paper given her penchant for pyromancy, but oh, there I go again, overthinking this children's movie. So now Lavagirl is really going through a lot, you know, considering that
Everything I touch dies!
But it only takes 2.3 seconds for her to get back with the plan, so the squad is going back to get the crystal heart. Max is finally useful for something, but Lavagirl ends up frozen. We get our 4th and 5th George Lopez character, and we find out that the Ice Princess is Mr. Electricidad's daughter. Then Max and her get married real quick. It's a weird ceremony. Anyway, it doesn't even matter because it doesn't work. The thing they went to go get doesn't work. Sharkboy then tries to fight Mr. Electric, dies. And then Lavagirl dies trying to save Sharkboy. Then our 3rd George Lopez character comes back for absolutely no reason to give Max a pep talk. Sharkboy comes back to life and now can just run like the Flash because who cares? Lavagirl comes back because again, this is a children's movie and nobody stays dead unless it's Bridge to Terabithia and you just don't give a fuck about the youth. So now Lavagirl is overcharged and is at 110%, Sharkboy is fine I guess, and Max has powers now because again, but this time say it with me, who cares? Max fights against Linus with literal bubbles and butterflies. Oh my god. And while whatever this is happening, Sharkboy gets his Shark Boys to fight Mr. Electric for him, because he just can't do it himself, I guess. Then Linus just says, you know what? I don't want to be bad anymore, so he stops. But Mr. Electric isn't so nice, so he heads to Earth to kill Max in his sleep since, you know, he's been asleep this whole time. And the movie says he's been dreaming with his eyes open, so if they show him sleeping like Linus was earlier, I will literally end the video here. Okay, cool, he had his eyes closed, thank God. So we find out that this whole time Max has been asleep under his desk while a tornado was outside, and somehow that doesn't seem like the craziest thing I've seen so far. This is how Max's parents' beef is resolved.
You're my best friend.
I love you.
Come back.
Like, just why? Like, why? Why did they even put that in this movie? And Mr. Electricidad asks his 4th grade class how they would deal with evil him, and he also allows Linus to try and fight him one-on-one, so maybe they're both evil. Alright, the movie got sappier and more annoying, so we're just gonna skip through this again, and the movie ends with everyone living happily ever after. Okay, listen. Now that the movie's out of the way, let's take a quick step back. Yes, this movie is bad. It's not bad in a way that is actually enjoyable, but this movie was really only made for one kid, which is in itself stupid, but it's a nice gesture from the people around Racer, so I'll give it that. There's even a few more positives that I can scrape together, since I really don't want to just harp on how bad, awful, terrible, and boring this movie is. So, this movie is actually very funny in parts. Some of the funny parts aren't meant to be funny, but that for sure didn't stop them from being hilarious. From weird audio dubbing to just weird writing that makes these kids in the 4th grade talk like they're in the Lord of the Rings, this movie is at times one of the best comedies I've reviewed so far. But then you see the bad CGI and bad pacing and bad storytelling and bad everything, and it just keeps going downhill from there. But back to the positivity. I like that both the main actors are named Taylor. That's a cool little fact. I really like some of the concepts, like with the train of thought and stream of consciousness, and the themes of keeping your dreams alive, and for the most part, I think some of the world building is solid. It's just not very well implemented. But that's really all the positives I have. Max sucks. The villain sucks, but he's a villain, so that's good, I guess. I really thought that this was gonna be like Speed Racer, where the story wasn't really all that good, but it would at least look good. I was wrong. But at the end of the day, again, this movie wasn't really made for me. It was made for Racer, and really, as long as he liked it, then it did its job. So with that being said, you should probably just skip this one next time you're feeling nostalgic. But what did you think? Did this review shatter your dreams, or are you glad you woke up from the nightmare that is The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl 3D? Let me know in the comment section below. Mayhaps like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.